Another episode of the AKAPod has arrived, and they say you save the best for last. That's why this man is fighting last at AKA 50 main event man himself. It's Quentin the Hero Henry taking on Duke Sensley in the main event of AKA 50. Quentin, you're one of the legends in the area, one of the true vets in the game. We're excited to have you on the card. How you doing today, man?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. Trying to take it easy right before the fight. Weight cut's going good. I'm right in that little water cut area, so I don't really cut a lot of weight, so it ain't too big of a deal.
Yeah,
Just cruising, man. Ready for Saturday. Just ready for it to hurry up and get here.
yeah, obviously, what's that final week like? You kind of had some. We'll talk about that more in a minute, but you've had some changes going on and going into this
Yeah.
card. But what's this final week like now that you know your matchup and you're trying to get ready to roll?
Yeah, I mean, typically that last week is where you're just kind of chilling and focusing on your weight. You're polishing up your game plan that you've been working on for forever. In this instance, I got a new guy and, 6 days notice. So
Mhm.
I'm still chilling and, hanging out for the most part, but, our strategizing is having to change a little bit on the fly. But like I've been doing this a long time, man, and I've fought a bunch of people. So, it is what it is. I couldn't be fighting a more opposite opponent than the guy that I was fighting before, but it's, it don't matter what you come with, we got something for you.
Well, that's what true warriors do. They step up no matter what, right? And there's no doubt you've proven yourself to be that. And you just mentioned it, man. You've got a lot of experience under your belt. But let's kind of go back to the beginning. Where does Quint Henry from? What got you into mixed martial arts? And how did you ultimately end up doing bare knuckle and everything that you've done? Because I mean, brother, you've checked off a lot of check boxes on that list.
Yeah, man. Me and my dad grew up. My dad always had us doing martial arts. He always did martial arts. So, I mean, it was just something I did with him. Me and my brother growing up. So, since I was 4, we started doing Taekwondo, and my dad did Taekwondo and, got multiple black belts. And, we went through, I did all the sports and all that, and I think, my dad had his own gym and we trained together for about a year, before any of us, well, about 2 years before anybody actually fought. But I think it just timing was right. I came along I was at the right age and in the right interest when MMA started getting popular. And I don't know if you remember, but I'm sure Matt does. When we first started fighting, you didn't know who you're fighting. You show up and I'd be like, that's not the guy I'm fighting. They're like, oh, well, yeah, we had to find somebody else. And then, it turns out they pulled the dude out of the crowd. It was just, but it was popular, at the
Yeah.
time. And then at that time, I was one of those guys. It wasn't common to find people that have been training since they were 4 or 5 years old. Nowadays, there's not a kid stepping in that cage now that hasn't been training for 15 years,
Mhm.
since they were kids. So, I was fortunate in the sense that, I was much more advanced than most people at that time. And I think, that helped me out when the sport was first starting out, which I was young. I was 18 for my first fight. But it just kind of progressed like that, man. And I never planned on being a pro fighter or doing any of that. It's just something that we did training. One day one of our guys was like, I signed up for this fight. And we're like, what? And they're like, what do you mean? And like, it had rules. We did Jeet Kune Do, so there were no rules in what we did. So, we taught eye gouges, groin shots, all that stuff. And we're like, all right, well, let's figure out the rules and start training for it. And then he went in there and killed the dude, not literally, but he did well. And then I'm like, well, I beat him up in class. Like I could do this too. So then we just started, just started like that. We started Ring Rulers was a big organization around here at the time, and they were putting shows on pretty regular. And they would call me, or we had 5 or 6 guys that were ready to fight at all times, and just evolved into that. And then I ended up going pro when I had my first kid. You can't really play around no more. But I kind of got into a point where I couldn't find any amateurs to really fight me.
Mhm.
So I went pro at 21. I did fairly well in MMA. I think in hindsight, my biggest setback to where my career would have went was probably my maturity at the time. But I was doing everything on my own. You know what I mean? Like, you talk about, being a pioneer, but it's not a pioneer, man. You're just figuring it out. And that's a hard way to go about it. So there were so many things that lessons I had to learn the hard way. And there's so many things that I did or said or could have done different. And I just didn't have any guidance. There was nobody there that had done it prior to me to be like, hey, man, no, like, or any of that. So, that was a big deal. But I mean, I did fairly well in my MMA career. I think at the height, I think I was ranked number 15 at 185 outside the UFC,
Okay.
on some record, whether that's official or not. It
There's
was
a
something
ton of
that,
wins on here, is
yeah,
all I know.
like, I don't know what record you pull that off of, or if it even means anything. But that was kind of the peak. I fought for legacy fighting championships. I was kind of right at that precipice, but again, I had kind of retired from MMA. I was just having real bad shoulder and neck problems. And the juice wasn't worth just wasn't worth the squeeze, at that point. The amount of money you're getting paid versus how much you have to train. And I had a gym at the time, so I was coaching, and it's hard to coach and train yourself. And then man, bare knuckle called me up on like a whim. They got a hold to my manager at the time, and they were like, "You want to do this?" And I was like, "Not really." And they were like, "Well," I was like, "What does it pay?" And they were like, $2,500. I was like, "Well, is that like win lose?" And they're like, "No, just 2,500 straight pay." I was like, "Bet." I was like, I'll fist fight somebody for $2,500. At the time, I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the most I ever made with Legacy or somebody like that was like close to 4 grand. But I
Mhm.
mean, I had to hustle tickets and I had to win to get that.
Yeah.
Like if you lose, you're not getting that. You're getting half of that. So it was, and I never thought it would really be a thing. My first question was like, that's legal now? Like they're letting people do that? But did it, and it's the same thing, kind of like with the MMA. I just kind of did it to do it, and then I ended up being good at it. And they asked me to come back, and so I kind of made a career out of it. A lot of the money was better in bare knuckle. I still have a job, so it's not like it was that good. You know what I mean? They like to go online, BKFC, and be like, "Well, we're paying guys," and they're not.
Yeah.
They're not paying
That's the game,
nobody.
right?
They're not paying nobody any better than anybody else, but that's what they want you to believe. And, I fought for a world title and I wasn't able to retire. So, I mean, where do you go for that? But yeah, man, went into the bare knuckle. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I think it's scarier to me. So I think that's one of the reasons that I really enjoy the bare knuckle. Just gets the adrenaline going a little better. Um, but yeah, man, now we're back. I had some injuries, had some things go wrong, just different, contract stuff like that. Just I kind of lost my love for it a while back, and then now I'm back, man. I kind of had some time. I got a little rest, a little reprieve from the craziness and the nonsense. There were a lot of people in the boxing commission and things like that I just didn't get along with. And I'm not one of those people that's going to be fake around you. If I don't like you and you bother me, then you bother me, and I don't want to be there. So I just kept myself out. I haven't even been to a fight in 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, and one of the only reasons I actually came back was because talking to Amber, there's a lot of those people that left.
Mhm.
So the commission's changed. It's gotten better. It's improved, and things like that. And I mean, we could get into the weeds about all the problems I've had with them, but they seem to be. So now it's time to come back, do the deed, man. I feel good. I'm healthy again. I've never been healthy for a fight. Not since I was in my 20s, and so I'm just excited to go throw down a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're excited to have you. And I know this has kind of been a crazy thing. You had, Kobe Bradford originally as your opponent, and there was kind of some things going on. You now have Duke Sensley, who you're stepping up against in the main event. Obviously this has kind of come together quickly. Shout out to you for taking this on short notice and being ready to go. But how much do you know about him, and kind of what are you expecting in this fight?
Man, like I was saying, it was two different game plans when
Hmm.
you compare the two fighters. One 6 foot, one 6'4". How you're going to fight them, what you're going to do. I think as far as like, I think Kobe was. I'm not going to say like a tougher fight. I think he was a tougher fighter. Like that was one of his attributes that he brought in was like, okay, I know that if I fight this guy, it's going to be a fight. We're about to go in here and fight this dude for however long until he goes down. And Duke seems to be a better boxer. Duke seems to be more of a technical striker, technical boxer. He's got that long reach. He likes to stay on the outside and use, but he don't have the power that I got, and he's not fast enough to hit me. I don't think he's fast enough to catch me in anything, honestly. So I think we're looking at a more technical boxing match versus a brawl. is what probably the Kobe Bradford was going to be into. He was more of a wrestler. It would have behooved him to get his hands on me and get close. And now that role has swapped in this next fight. I mean, that guy's 6'4", I'm 6 foot. I need to be the one getting inside, and that kind of stuff. So, it's fun. I guess when it goes into your nerd brain, when you start nerding out about, the boxing and the strategy, I would have liked to have more than 6 days to get ready, for it, but I'm in shape, man. I'm in shape and I don't train for a specific fighter anyway. I train for what I'm going to do. So my skills are where they need to be. I just need to, just change the game plan up a little bit as to where we're going to go with it.
Well, I can tell you, we're all excited. It was very much, there was a big effort to make sure you were on this card, and one of the reasons is because this is your town, man. Fighting in Ruston. I mean, talk to us about what it's like to be, obviously Monroe, Ruston, all that there together. What's it like to be able to have your friends and family know that you're kind of defending your home turf?
Man, I love it. I mean, the coolest fight I've ever been in was that last one I had for the title and I lost. but but it was just getting to come out and hearing people scream for me and all that and all the support that I had gotten in that fight was a big deal. And it's all these people support you all the time, but it's hard for them. I was fighting in Tampa and I was just all over the place. It was hard for them to actually come see a fight. And it's like it's great when you win for those people, but it's even better when they get to watch you win.
Sure.
So they get to be part of the full atmosphere, because they don't, if you've never been to some fights, like you support a fighter, you share his stuff, you might sponsor him or whatever, but you don't understand what's going on. You know what I mean? And then when you show up to those fights and you really get that interaction and you get to see not only me, but these other guys and what they're putting on the line out there, it's like you understand what you're supporting a little more. And yeah, I've got a lot of local fans and a lot of people around here that support me. It seems like if I leave this area, I'm the enemy all the time. If I leave outside Louisiana or anywhere else, they just want to, Bible bash me because I'm a Christian and all this other nonsense and stuff. So, but it's just exciting, man. I'm excited. I know a lot of people are mad that they haven't got to see me in a while or they missed the last fight and they didn't think I was fighting ever again, so but yeah, it's be a good opportunity for people to come in there and watch the hero throw bones in person.
Well, speaking of the hero's got a couple, at least one guy on this card from your gym, right?
Yep.
Tyson Sheets also fighting on here as well. What
Right.
can you tell us about Tyson? And I know that's exciting for you to get to see him go out there as well.
Yeah, man. Tyson's 17. He's been training with me, I think, since he was 13. His older brother is one of my best jiu-jitsu students. He's kind of like a jiu-jitsu phenom. And Tyson's right there with him. You know how the big, Cameron's got, I think, 5 years on him. So it's a little big of an age gap for him to cover up. But if there was his main goal in doing jiu-jitsu is so he can beat Cameron. You know what I mean? So he's got that guy that's just pushing him nonstop on his jiu-jitsu. The kid's tough as nails. He's the smallest person in our fight team. We were watching him spar the other day and we're grappling and we're like, man, he's getting tired by the third round. Fourth round, he's getting kind of tired. And I'm like, well, everybody's going against 60 pounds bigger than him. You know what I mean? So, it's going to be fun to watch him get a hold of somebody his own size is what I'm ready for.
Yeah, we'll be looking forward to seeing him on there as well. He's going to be leading things off at AKA 50. And this man will be closing the show at AKA 50. Quentin Henry taking on Duke Sensley. Bare Knuckle Boxing, aka 50, Ruston, Louisiana, November 1st. We're going to see you guys there on Saturday. Make sure you show up and support this man as he puts it all on the line to defend his home turf. Quentin, we appreciate your time, brother.
Absolutely, man. Y'all be there. Don't blink.
Don't blink. See y'all on Saturday. And now we're joined by the man who's going to be standing opposite of Quentin Henry at AKA 50 in Ruston, Louisiana. It's Duke Sensley, a man who has taken this fight on short notice, stepping up and taking on a real test here. Duke, we appreciate your time. And I mean, what's it like when you get that phone call and you find out you got a fight essentially a week out?
I was excited. I was getting ready for something else anyway, So I've been in camp for the past couple of weeks, just working. So it's just a little sooner date. That's all.
Well, kind of like Quentin, you have a multifaceted background. I mean, you've done a little bit of everything: MMA, kickboxing. You've been in there a lot recently with the bare knuckle. Where did your career start, and how has it evolved?
I started kickboxing here in the city, and then I don't know. That just the gym that I was going to there just didn't seem so much my speed. And I went over to NOLA MMA, and I just been hooked ever since then.
Yeah, and you guys are putting in a ton of work down there at NOLA MMA. Tell us a little bit more about it. You're going to be our first fighter from NOLA MMA coming up to compete at American Combat Alliance, and tell us about your gym. Tell us about Ray Lopez and what you boys have going on down there.
We got a crazy gym, man. One of the hardest rooms in the state for sure. The man just tries to torture us, and he laughs and enjoys it every second of it. But yeah, we work hard. Everybody's close, tight knit group, and we just got each other's backs for whatever comes up. So this is nothing. I don't know, nothing really too crazy for us. We always stepping in short notice, stepping in against crazy fights, stepping in against more dangerous opponents. It's just always just something in our repertoire.
Well, that's what good gyms do, right? They make you the best, and then they give you these big time challenges. And I know you're ready for that on Saturday night as you take on Quentin Henry. But let's know a little bit more about you. I mean, are you from New Orleans originally? How did you end up there? I mean, kind of tell us a little bit about who you are outside of being a fighter.
Hey, I was born in New Orleans, stayed until Hurricane Katrina got me up in the wind, moved away to Houston for a little bit, then moved to Colorado, then made my way back home maybe about 8 years ago. And then shortly after that, that's when I began my career as a martial artist.
Well, that has now led you to Saturday to take on Quentin Henry. What do you know about Quentin? What are your thoughts coming into this, and maybe any expectations that you have for this fight?
I don't have any expectations for the fight for the most part. I don't really know too much about Henry. I know we fought together on the same BFC card that was in Monroe a couple of years back, but other than that, I don't really know much about the guy.
And talking about BKFC, like, obviously we talked about your transition from kickboxing into bare knuckle, and how comfortable do you feel with bare knuckle? Do you feel like maybe that's your best sport, or how do you view that?
It's all the same, man. Once you're going and that adrenaline going, the punches don't feel any different. The swings don't feel any different. It's just all one big game.
Well, it sounds like you're ready for that game for sure. Do you have anything you want to say to your friends and family out there that support you, and maybe your gym as well?
Just go ahead and shout out my gym, Nola MMA, my coaches, Ray Lopez and Ryan O'Toole, all of my training partners out there that's been helping me get ready and stay ready. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put on a show for them, and I hope they enjoy it. I
Well, we're
know
looking forward to. Well, we're looking forward to having you down there, man. And I know you're a busy guy. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us here today. Best of luck. You guys can see Duke take on Quentin Henry, AKA 50, in Ruston, Louisiana, coming your way on Saturday. Get your tickets now at akafights.com. Appreciate you, Duke.
yeah, thank you for having me, man.